Welcome, everybody. Let's go over the Finance tab for Shepard for Churches. This is a very key piece. What it does is it really helps you get your accounting right. A lot of churches use something like QuickBooks or Xero or anything like that. It's really not built for churches. This is built for churches. It's simple, so basically anybody can use it. It gives you what you need. The report function, we're going to probably be adding more reports as we get some feedback from users. But as of right now, I think the report function is really good and very helpful and makes it very understandable for boards, for pastors, for treasurers, for anybody who really needs to be able to look at this, as well as members when you go over with your annual or your quarterly business meetings. Let's start by looking at overview. So you can go ahead and choose whichever year that you're going to look at. Now, I have not backloaded information into each of these years. I just have it for a couple of the years. So let's start with 2026. So we have these transactions. It gives me my total income, my total expenses for the fiscal year. My net income is $20,108. So as you can see, I have some very, very, very profitable church. Now, the bank in cash, this is not coming out as it should be accurately because I did not put in starting balances when I did this. What I would need to do is go ahead and create journal entries in order to get that set up. If you do need help getting your bank account set up to begin on this, go ahead and reach out to me, droof@davidroofcpa.com. I will probably do an instructional video on how to do that by itself, as it's a bit more complicated on that initial setup. But what this will do is it'll give you a snapshot of how much cash you have as of the last time transactions were put in, how much debt that there is as of, again, the last time transactions were put in. This gives you a monthly breakdown of income and expenses. Now, I have not put a lot of transactions in here, so we only really have 1 month worth of a couple of transactions, and we'll go over that in a few minutes. But it just kind of gives you the trend line for how you're doing, right? You would rather see more green, less red, meaning that you brought in more money than you spent. Now, as a church organization, we're often trying to keep this actually fairly together, because your role is to spend money on the operations of the church, on missions, on whatever it is that you need to do. So that money, you don't want to be piling it up and do nothing with it. You do want to be using it. Now, down here, I think is the really useful report, budget versus actuals. So I currently have it set to annual, but we have annual, monthly, quarterly, and custom. Right now, we have tithes and offerings. What's actually come in this year is $140. We budgeted $50,000, meaning we're $49,860 short. Missions fund, however, brought in $20,000 and we budgeted $0, meaning we're infinite over it. Expenses, I haven't really uploaded money expenses, but as of right now, we've only spent $32 on events and programs. We had no budget for that, so we would probably need to look at that to go set a budget for this if we're going to be doing this. So pastoral salaries, we set a budget of $25,000, administrative staff $35,000, and then children's ministry, those children get quite expensive, $1,500,000. Now, if I want to go ahead and see any information of how these numbers came about, I can click over here and it will show me all the transactions that make up everything behind it. So if I went to a monthly one, it would only show me that month. If I went to a quarterly one, it would only show me that quarter. And then I can go ahead and see that. Now I'm going to switch this to monthly to show you what happens to the budget. So as you can see, when I change that, the budget changes to what the monthly budget is. So you can see how am I doing on this on a monthly basis. And then I can choose which month that I am going to pick. And I will go ahead and pick March. And there you go. That's how I'm doing in March. But then we come over here to the giving tab. We went over this in the last video, but the giving tab just kind of gives you a breakdown of how much has been given to each fund, so that you know that you're getting this correct, putting these in correctly. So missions is going to missions, general is going to general, building funds are going to buildings. And then it gives you an overview of how much total given, how many contributions are made, and at what point in time these things were made. All right, transactions. This is very important. So as you can see, if these transactions are not categorized, your financial statements will not be correct. Now, in order to add transactions, you can either hit add transaction and go through and manually do them. This would be an income transaction. You'd put in the date, if you did a check, or if there was checks, or however this money came in, EFT, ACH, description, and then you would pick which cash account it went to. So let's say it went into the general checking. The income account, so we'll say it was a given to the youth ministry fund, and the amount was $500. Sometimes it takes a little extra time to load. There we go. All right, and then who gave it? So we'll say it was given by John Smith. All right. And then it just, nope, I didn't put the date in. That was my problem. Don't forget to fill in everything that has a little star. And then we hit create transaction, and then you can see that will then show up. The other way to add in transactions is you can go ahead and hit import. And what you can do is upload an Excel or a CSV file that you can download from your bank. And then when you do that, what it'll do is it will then, I'm going to go ahead and upload one real quick so that we can just see what it'll look like when you upload one. I'm going to do one that I had prepared that doesn't have very many transactions, because more transactions, the longer it'll take. Now, when you click upload, you have to go ahead and make sure that these are coming in correctly. So date column is date, description is description, amount is amount. These are just the headers that I have in my Excel file. Actually, I uploaded a CSV file that was just directly downloaded from the bank. So this is directly from the bank, and most banks have this option. Then I hit next, categorize, and I can go ahead and categorize, and I can say, okay, this was offset administration, and this money out here was going to be, we'll call it missions and outreach. And then we'll say this was rental income, and this one over here was, let's see here, it's money in, so we'll do money to the tithes and offerings. We'll say this one was from God to Go, this one was from John Smith. Import the 4 transactions, and there you go. This one here, uncategorized, means it's not going anywhere, so we do need to fix that at some point. And if we see that show up, we can go ahead and click on the transaction, click edit transaction. Right here, you can't change this because this is the deposit part, but over here, you would then say, okay, we had this go from event income, and then you just type in that dollar figure. If it's split and you need to put multiple ones, you can go ahead and do that. So like 4 or 5 different people gave, you could break that up and it would all go to those member accounts. But since we are only going to do this as one, we'll say save changes. Now everything's categorized and we're good to go. Now that we put that in, as you can see, all of these numbers have changed in order to reflect what we just put in. So if you do not put that information in, this is not very useful, but if you keep up with those transactions, this is very useful. This next tab here is the reoccurring. So anybody who signed up for reoccurring donations, this will show here so that you can have an estimate for how much money is going to come in on a monthly, weekly, quarterly, whatever basis they pick, just so that you can plan better. Budgets. This is where you set your budget. So let's say you're going to budget when I do these videos, my computer runs very slowly. So I'll change that budget to $5,000, and this one I'll change to $450, and then over here I'll knock off a couple zeros, and we'll put this down to 50, and we'll say 150, 250, 300, 450, and we'll do 150, 300, and then there you go. And if you do that though, and you don't hit save budget, guess what? It's not going to save. So be sure to hit save budget before you do that, or you're going to lose all the work you just did. And then this will then go to the overview tab, and you can see how you're doing on your budget. So as you can see, we are way over on our missions outreach budget. We spent $19,950 more. I would then say, something doesn't seem right, and look to see what happened in there. Now, as you can see, I categorized a transfer as a expense, and that should not be the case, but that's okay for this purpose. All right, and then the last piece of this, accounts. So if you want to add any new accounts, so let's say you have an additional bank account or a credit card account or anything, you would just go up here and hit add account. you would type in the code. Now, I would suggest keeping this to general accounting standards. So 100 being assets, 200 liabilities, 300 equity type accounts or the retained earnings. 400 is income, 500 is cost of goods sold, 600 is expenses. So you would then go ahead and pick that. So let's say we're going to add in a new expense account. So we'll go ahead and we'll say 6785. I'm not using that number. And then we'll put that down as expense, and we'll call it grounds keeping. So taking care of the grounds. So however you want to set up your budget, this is how you do that. So then we go ahead and we create an account, and then that will show up down here under groundskeeping. As you can now, okay, I have all of mine set up as a 5,000 account, but that's okay. And then I can go ahead, if I want to change that, I can edit this. And let's say I want to keep it alphabetical. So A, B, C, D, E, F, G. So I'll put this at 5550 so that it falls in after C. And then none of the rest of them are alphabetical. That's okay. I can go ahead and delete them if I would like to. So if I don't like grounds, I can go ahead and delete it. And now it's gone. But when I add this account, I'll add it back in. Hit that create account. Now that that's created right there, I can come over here and I can set a budget for groundskeeping, and we'll say it's going to be $3,000 for the year. All right. Now that will show up to my overview tab, and I will be able to track to see how we're doing on all of that and make sure that everything is working correctly. Sometimes you have to refresh the page in order for it to load exactly what it's supposed to load. All right, that is our finance tab or our finance screen. Hopefully this is helpful to you and that you will be able to use this and help your church be more streamlined and understanding their financials. Especially on this page, if there's any reports or anything that you would like to see, please reach out to us so we can get that set up. Because a lot of churches have kind of individual reports that are very, very useful, and we'd love to be able to use them as a resource and get them added for you so that this is the most useful for your organization to be able to use. I hope you guys have a great day.